In this episode, we talk about Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi's death and its implications on the country. We also talk about a massive fire that broke out in a children's hospital in Delhi. But first we talk about Rajasthan and why BJP may not be able to replicate its previous victories in the state this time. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. Rajasthan has been one of the most crucial states for the BJP in the Hindi heartland. In the previous two Lok Sabha polls, the party achieved a clean sweep in the state, winning all 25 seats in 2014 and repeating this victory in 2019, with one seat going to its ally, the Rashtriya Loktantrik Party. However, this time, replicating its performance appears to be a challenge for the Saffron Party, with at least 2 to 3 seats at risk according to conservative estimates. To understand the challenges this time and the factors likely to influence the polls, my colleague Shashank Bhargava speaks to Indian Express's Hamza Khan.
Hamza, begin by telling us about the kind of position that BJP finds itself in the state right now. How have things changed for the party?
So this time, the key difference is that BJP is set to lose a few seats. So in 2014, it won all seats by itself, and in 2019, it won 24 seats, and one seat was won by its ally, the Rashtriya Loktantrik Party. So again, 25 seats to NDA in 2019. But this time, things are quite different on the ground, and it may lose up to maybe 2 seats or 3 seats, or maybe even more. And the Union Home Minister Amit Shah himself said that BJP may not be able to repeat its record of getting all 25 seats from Rajasthan. Second, unlike the last 2 elections, there is no unifying force within the state. So in 2014 and 2019, we had Vasundhara Raje, who is the party's biggest face in the state, from within the state. And but she has been sidelined, in the last 1 year, and she wasn't made the CM in December. The party opted for Bachanlal Sharma. So she also hasn't been active as much as she was in 2014 and 2019. So, of course, that has also affected BJP's campaign to a certain extent. So the leaders have focused more or less on their regions, on their seats, rather than, working unitedly for the party.
And in the past, the BJP's message of Hindutva and nationalism has resonated with people in the state. Is that still the case, or are other local issues more at play this time?
Hindutva and nationalism are still the major issues. But the question is more about the extent or the influence of these issues rather than saying that these are not relevant at all. Of course, these are still the main issues in the state. It's just that they don't hold as much influence as they did in probably 2014 and 2019. And there is perhaps fatigue with this in some sections. And the issues of unemployment and inflation are also there. But then there is a disclaimer here, like nationalism, Hindutva or Ram Temple. These are still major issues. Most people are still influenced by it, and the BJP will still comfortably win most of the seats in Rajasthan. We can say partly or majorly due to these issues. The only difference is that this time the election wasn't as one-sided as it was in 2014 or 2019.
Okay, so what would you say are some of the biggest factors that are going against the BJP this time? What are the kind of things that people are angry about?
So one is certainly the Jat angle. When the results came in for the assembly elections in December last year, Congress had performed fairly well in the Shekhawati region compared to the regions of the state. So Shekhawati region comprises of, Churu, Sikar, Jhunjhunu, and even the current state president of Congress, Govind Singh Dotasra, is a Jat and he hails from Sikar. And there has been resentment against the BJP from the Jat community because when the BJP came to power in December last year, it did not make the CM from the community or even a deputy CM. And the Jats have the biggest numbers. As a community, Jats have the highest numbers in Rajasthan, but they have not had a CM yet. And then there are other issues of Jats, such as non-inclusion of Jats of Bharatpur in central OBC list. There has been dissatisfaction over Agnipath scheme because Shekhawati region sends a lot of people to the armed forces. So, with the implementation of Agnipath scheme, there has been some resentment. And then the treatment of women wrestlers and non-action against Brijbhushan Sharan Singh, sidelining of Vasundhara Raje, who identifies as a Jat ki Bahu. Also, Satish Punia was the BJP state president till last year, and he's a Jat. But then he was the first BJP president in Rajasthan who is a Jat, but he was removed from his post, over a year ago. So, all these issues led to have given some hope to Congress. And in fact, some of the key contests in the state, such as Churu, Junjunu, and Nagaur, are witnessing a direct Jat versus Jat contest with an advantage for the Congress. While the party is also banking on the Jat community to back their candidates in other seats too, such as Amra Ram in Sikar and Umeda Ram in Barmer.
And one of the main slogans of the BJP this time has been Ab ki baar 400 par, which some say may have backfired for the party a bit. Have there been concerns along those lines?
So there are concerns indeed about the consolidation of power and shrinking of opposition, even within the ruling party. For example, like in Rajasthan itself, all the top BJP leaders have been, cut to size or managed one way or another. So be it Vasundhara Raje, Gulabchand Kataria, Satish Punia, Rajendra Rathod, Kirulal Meena again. So he's a cabinet minister now, but he is apparently feeling suffocated in the party. So these are the concerns. Plus also there are also concerns about EC's neutrality.
Right, but also since the BJP is expected to win most of the seats in the state, one imagines that people are happy with the party and its narrative.
So largely the people seem to be happy with the politics of Hindutva, the nationalism, the Ram temple. And on the ground, a lot of people seem really happy about what they perceive as India's rise in status internationally.
And Hamza, when we talk about Hindutva, both of PM Modi's polarizing speeches about Muslims took place in Rajasthan. How did people there react to it?
So, to put it broadly, these speeches took place in the second phase in Rajasthan. And at least two specific speeches of the Prime Minister. One was in Banswara and the second one was in Tong Savai Madhopur. So in Rajasthan, in the first phase, the voting percentage was 57.65, which increased to, after these speeches, this increased to 65.08% in the second phase. So that's a huge difference of 7.38%. Now, if it was for or against these speeches, we will have to see. So either way, it apparently made the people in the state step out of their homes and vote. And the statements also made it seem that the BJP, although still far ahead, is falling short of its 400 par aim. In that sense, it also gave more hope to the opposition.
And now let's talk about the main opposition, the Congress party. Talk about how the party has been campaigning in the state this time.
So strictly speaking about Rajasthan, Congress is more hopeful this time around. Although on the ground, it seemed like business as usual for the party. So like it's being said elsewhere that, it's the people fighting the BJP this time, not the opposition. So that holds true to a certain extent for Rajasthan as well, because Congress lacks the smooth organization that BJP has. And that initially, all these leaders, Ashok Gehlot, Sachin Pilot, Govind Singh Dottasra, the top leaders of Congress in Rajasthan, they had shied away from contesting these elections because the party lost all 25 seats the last two times. So these leaders did not want to risk their stature and, again, lose the seats. So, but by the time the state reached the second phase of voting, there was a momentum for the Congress, and it was being felt that had these leaders contested, then maybe the Congress would have had a better chance on several more seats in Rajasthan, rather than maybe just, 3, 4, or maybe 5 seats. And I think nationally, a major difference this time is that the Congress is also setting the agenda to a certain extent, and the BJP has to respond to it. So be it reservation or changing the constitution. So maybe earlier, Congress was mostly restricted to responding to the agenda set by the BJP.
And does anything in particular stand out to you about the candidates of these two parties? Were there any major changes from either side?
So wherever the big names in BJP are contesting, it seems like a one-sided contest, but the interesting contests are in some other seats. For example, in Churu, so Rahul Kaswa was a BJP MP and who had won in 2019, but this time he changed the sides, like he was denied a ticket, and he switched to Congress. So this time he's contesting as a Congress candidate against Devendra Jhajaria of the BJP. And similarly, in Nagaur, there is Jyoti Mirdha versus Hanuman Beniwal of the Rashtriya Loktantrik Party. So again, the roles are reversed this time around. So Jyoti Mirdha was a Congress candidate in 2019. Now she's a BJP candidate. And Beniwal was an ally of the BJP in 2019. Now he's not the Congress candidate, but he's allied with the Congress as he's contesting from his party, which is the Rashtriya Loktantrik Party. And another interesting thing is that the Congress this time has left 3 seats for its allies. Of course, there is Nagaur, and then there is Bharat Adivasi Party in Banswara, and the CPM in Sikar. And then another interesting aspect is that sons of both former CMs, Vasundhara Raje and Ashok Gehlot, are contesting this election. So Dushyant Singh, Vasundhara Raje's son, is contesting from Jhalawad, Bara Lok Sabha seat, and Vaibhav Gehlot is contesting from Jalore. So Vaibhav had contested from Jodhpur in 2019 but lost, and Dushyant is much better placed, like he's likely to win the Jhalawad Lok Sabha seat, and he's been a 4-time MP from this particular seat, which was earlier held by his mother, Vasundhara Raje.
And Hamza, you earlier mentioned the Bharat Adivasi Party. Now, this is a fairly new party which was formed last year in 2023. Can you tell us a bit about it and its ties with the Congress party?
So there were 2 MLAs of the Bharat Tribal Party in Rajasthan, but there were internal differences within the party. So most of the BTP leaders, they left the BTP and they created the Bharat Adivasi Party in September 2023. So they now have 3 MLAs in Rajasthan. So they contested the 2023 assembly elections in October-November last year, and they managed to win 3 seats. So there has been a consolidation. There has been a tribal consolidation. I mean, you can credit BTP and then you can credit the BAP for the tribal consolidation, because the tribals say that, we are fed up of the Congress and the BJP because they just basically use us, and then they don't really care about us. They don't really care for our issues. And one of the key issues that they have is the creation of the Bhil Pradesh. So, I mean, they're hoping that through consolidation, they may be able to, work towards this aim and for the betterment of tribals as a whole. So in the current Lok Sabha elections, Congress is officially supporting the Bharat Adivasi Party in Banswara, but the issue is that it had also discussions with the Bharat Adivasi Party for a long time, but then only at the last moment did Congress announce that we will support the Bharat Adivasi Party. But by then Congress had also declared Arvind Damor as its candidate, and so it asked Damor to withdraw his candidature. But on the day of withdrawing the nomination, Damor went in hiding, and then he's still contesting. He contested, and so it became a sort of a triangular contest between the BJP and the BAP and the Congress. So, of course, I mean, owing to alleged delay from the Congress in making up its mind, the BAP also fielded candidates, in some of the seats as well, where Congress is also contesting, such as Chittorgarh and Udaipur. So, I mean, of course, Congress is supporting BAP in Banswara, but then the candidates are contesting against each other on, a few seats. Congress and BAP candidates are contesting against each other on a few seats, including Banswara.
And next we talk about Iran. On May 19th, Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi and Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian tragically died in a helicopter crash. The incident occurred when both of them were returning after concluding their visit to Azerbaijan. It's key to note that the incident has come at a time when Tehran's role in the peace and stability in the region has been under a sharp focus. India, which considers Iran to be a part of its extended neighborhood and has invested a lot in the country, has been keeping a close watch on the developments that lie ahead. To understand what Iran is going through at the moment and its implications for India, my colleague Flora Swain speaks to Indian Express's diplomatic affairs editor, Shubhajit Roy.
Shubhajit, my first question to you is, what happens next now for Iran after Raisi's death?
Well, as you know, Iran is governed by, the supreme leader is the most important actor in the Iranian establishment. So essentially, he heads a council which is a self-appointed guardian of the democracy or the regime. So they will have to conduct elections in the next about 50 days. And that is the time frame in which they have to select or elect their new president. But that is a formal procedure. And so we will see in the next 50 days people putting up their candidature. And so people might put up their candidature, but they will have to be accepted by the Guardian Council, which is headed by the Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei. So that acceptance will tell you that who are the real players on the ground. It is equivalent to, for example, in India, when a candidate files a nomination and if the nomination is accepted or rejected. So the same thing would happen in their case as well. In the last election, in which Ali Khamenei gave his blessings to the ultra-conservative side. So that's how Raisi became the president. So what happened was that because he was the chosen one by the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, therefore he was tipped to be or one of the major contenders for the Supreme Leader's position. So with his sudden demise, this leaves a vacuum in that sense in the president's place. What Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, has to do now is to look for a president who is also a possible successor. So the name that is right now doing the rounds is Ali Khamenei's son, Mujtaba Khamenei, who is said to be one of the possible contenders for the president's position. Now, Mujtaba is a low-profile leader. He doesn't have much of administrative experience, and that is something seen as key to become a president of Iran within the system. So that's a challenge before him. So that's the context in which we have to see that right now, Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, has to choose the president first. That is the priority, to bring stability to the regime, and then look for a potential successor to his role as well.
Absolutely. But at the same time, I want to know, this is with context to the supreme leader. But coming back to the president's post, how challenging or how easy do you think is conducting an early presidential election in Iran under the current circumstances, where they are, where the credibility of the current regime had almost hit rock bottom, and they are embroidered in a sort of a war situation with Israel. So how do you think, how challenging or easy is it going to be to conduct early presidential polls?
So the Iranian leadership is clearly divided into two factions, the reformists and the ultra-conservatives, who we also call hardliners. So there's always a battle between the two to earn the spurs and sort of earn the credibility from the supreme leader and also the wider establishment, wider regime. So now what happens is, with this particular scenario where Raisi is not around, now the Iranians will have to choose between the reformists and the conservatives. So both sides will obviously be jockeying for influence, will be lobbying for position in the next 50 days, and we'll have to see which particular faction gets the upper hand. So it's politics at play that will be seen. The hectic lobbying will be witnessed in Tehran, Mashhad, and other Qom and other places, the major power centers in Iran.
Also, Raisi was known to be this political figure who had his invisible hand of blessing when it came to the so-called militant groups, be it Hamas in Gaza or the Houthi rebels of Yemen or the Lebanese Hezbollah. Do you think that, the relationship of these proxy groups, will Iran also undergo some kind of a change?
I think the 3H, Hezbollah, Houthi and Hamas, these three groups that has the blessings and support of Iran, they have survived because the Iranian conservatives have chosen that they have taken the path of confrontation in these areas with Israel, with US, and also in the Red Sea. Right now, the situation in West Asia is pretty combustible because of the war in Gaza. And also the tension between Iran and Israel have escalated, as we saw last month, when there were direct attacks on each other's territory. So to sort of, if the regional situation escalates, then these are Iran's proxies, which it will use to hurt or harm the Americans, the Europeans, and Israel. So they will only get emboldened if Israel or US keep on prolonging A, the war in Gaza, B, the sanctions against Iranians, and which is seen by Iran domestically that they can't be cowed down. So as long as they feel threatened and challenged on these accounts by the West, they would push back, and these Hezbollah, Hamas and Houthis will be instruments used by Iran to challenge the American or the Western writ in the region.
Right. Apart from Raisi, the other casualty in the helicopter crash was Iran's foreign minister. Now, he was a face of all foreign affairs when it came to meetings, calls, and all of that. So who do you think will take his place? And what kind of a change we can see in the overall Iran's foreign policy?
So again, I would like to underline the fact that the most important player in Iran's system is the supreme leader. So, it will depend on who becomes the president, and the president will choose from his loyalists, his group. One of them will become the foreign minister. And whoever will become the foreign minister will follow the line dictated by the conservatives or the reformist president. So it really depends which faction actually forms the government in the next elections.
Coming back closer home, Shubhajit, how do you think that diplomatic relations with India, both diplomatic and trade relations with India, will have an impact now after Raisi's demise?
Well, there are some strategic projects or strategic outlook that India and Iran share. One of them is stability of Afghanistan. So India and Iran both share the same animosity or sort of antagonism towards the Taliban, which rules Afghanistan. So that has been one of their main similar like-minded thinking, if you would like to say, between India and Iran. The Chabahar project, port project, which has been developed by India, and now there's a 10-year long-term agreement that has been signed recently, and that is last week. That has also been one of the projects which is aimed at accessing Afghanistan along with Eurasia. So that is a strong element which has been implemented by both Iran and India, irrespective of change in government. So that is again an area where the two countries are cooperating. Can there be new areas? Yes, of course, but it will all depend on the sanctions by the US and what happens in the US presidential elections. And that will sort of determine the future trajectory of India-Iran relations.
And in the end, we talk about a massive fire that broke out at a children's hospital in Delhi. A massive fire broke out at a baby care center in Delhi's Vivek Vihar early on Sunday, killing at least 7 newborns. Explaining about the incident, Atul Garg, Delhi Fire Services chief, said, quote, "A fire call was received from a baby care center at Block B of Vivek Vihar. A total of 9 fire tenders were rushed to the spot." Unquote. Following this, investigation into the blaze were set up by Health Minister Saurabh Bhardwaj, who asked officials to speed up the probe, and Delhi Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena asked Chief Secretary to institute an inquiry into the tragic incident. Instructions were also issued by Bhardwaj to Health Secretary Deepak Kumar and Chief Secretary Naresh Kumar, asking them to ensure a speedy compensation to the families of the deceased and the injured, and to ensure free treatment of the rescued children at the best private hospitals under the Firishte scheme. The scheme allows the victims to receive cashless treatment at a registered public or private nursing home or hospital across Delhi. They were also instructed to expedite the arrests of those who were running the center and were responsible for the negligence. Reacting to the incident, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal said, quote, "This incident of fire in a children's hospital is heartbreaking. We all stand with those who lost their innocent children in the accident. Government and administration officials are busy providing treatment to the injured at the spot. The causes of the incident are being investigated, and whoever is responsible for the negligence will not be spared." Unquote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also expressed his condolences. "The fire tragedy at a hospital in Delhi is heartrending. My thoughts are with the bereaved families in this incredibly difficult time. I pray that those injured recover at the earliest," he said. Meanwhile, Dr. Naveen, the owner of the newborn baby care hospital, is currently absconding, officials said. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Shashank, Bhargava and me, Niharika, Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.